Sam, you're up.
Coach, I guess we'll just start with the obvious question. What's your initial reaction to today's news?
Obviously, hugely disappointed for the kids, and as hard as they work, to not get recognized for their efforts is pretty disappointing, But I told them that, as hard as they worked this year and everything they accomplished and set records at your own school and do things that have never been done before, if you know in your heart that you did everything that you could do and committed everything that you can commit to achieve something, don't let a group of people who have no idea who you are dictate the satisfaction you can get out of knowing that you did everything you could. So they should be proud of everything they accomplished, and don't ever let somebody else's opinion change how you feel about yourself.
Joe Mercado.
Coach, how did you feel about the team going into the Big 12 tournament? And do you think it was just a combination of that performance and what happened with some upsets around the country that may have put you guys on the wrong side of the bubble?
Yeah, going into it, our RPI was 35. And we weren't even considered one of the last four in. But as things unfolded, it was literally everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. We lost two games, and the upsets that were going on around the country and some of the games. UCLA scored 9 runs in the bottom of the ninth against Oregon State to pass us in the RPI. Just everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. So I actually thought we had a great year. We did everything we needed to do. I can't look back at a game and say, God, we should have won this game or we should have won that game. I thought we played at an extremely high level. We overachieved, and we went 27-0 when leading after 6 innings, I think. So it's not like we gave any games away. People don't realize how hard it is to go 14-10 as West Virginia in the Big 12 conference. So to do that, we accomplished a great deal, and we're not going to let some committee of people who don't know who we are to tarnish our season.
Sam?
Coach, you mentioned you've been in contact with your team today. Obviously, that would be the case, but what's the mood around the locker room? How are the players feeling about it? Obviously, they're disappointed, but how are they feeling?
Yeah, in times like this, I feel like the way we coach our kids to teach them life lessons off the field way more than lessons on the field, So we can teach them how to steal second base and hit curveballs and throw changeups as much as we want. But it's times like these that they really need coached, when you face huge disappointment and adversity and the message. I feel like we had to do more coaching today than we've had to do all season, because that's the way we coach them. And told them yesterday that, in life, starting when you're a young child, filling out your Christmas list and putting it under the tree for Santa Claus, you just don't always get what you want. And when you don't get what you want, if Santa doesn't bring you the Red Ryder BB gun, you don't swear yourself off of Christmas and hate Santa Claus. You just learn how to go about your business, understanding that life is all about not getting what you want. And I just turned 56, and I just didn't get what I wanted. And I've got to react accordingly and teach these guys how to react accordingly. So I think they felt awful when they heard the news, but after we talked to them, And I made them all stand up in the team theater and stand as tall as they could and raise their head as high as they could and be proud of what they accomplished. Then we're not going to let some, like I said, some committee of people who don't get it and don't understand it to change the way we feel about ourselves.
Joe.
Coach, you had a couple gaps in the regular season schedule with cancellation. I know you tried to fill and get up to 56 games as much as possible, but did you feel maybe not getting a couple of those games in may have impacted things?
You never know. They go in there and give all the reasons why the teams that didn't get in. And those reasons change every year. You know, one year it's RPI and next year it's conference schedule. I think this year their reason was non-conference strength of schedule. They formulate their reasons based on who they put in. So you never know what affected it, but we tried to play as many games as we could. We weren't one of those teams that was out there canceling games. We were trying to find games. A lot of the teams that canceled games got into the field, and teams like us that tried to find games didn't get into the field. So logically and systematically, there's something wrong with the system currently that needs to be fixed. And if they don't fix it, you know, what if we declined our bid to play in the conference tournament this year? I wouldn't be on a Zoom with you guys right now. I'd be on the field practicing with my team, preparing for a regional, if we would have declined our bid to the conference tournament. So unless they change things systematically, that's what's going to start happening.
Sam.
Coach, you kind of mentioned this. You've had players break, your team broke records, you had individual players break records, get a lot of conference honors and all that. But at the same time, the main goal is winning a title, and you guys weren't quite able to do that. How should this team be remembered?
It's going to be remembered by me as one of the funnest teams I've ever coached. Our strengths were our ability to run, which is a fun team to coach. Our bullpen, and it's fun to manage a good bullpen. And the chemistry and the culture in the locker room means it's a great team to be around. We never lost 3 games in a row the whole season. So we never, as coaches, got in the locker room or sat there and said, gosh, why are we playing so bad? What's wrong with the Mountaineers? There was never that point in the season. So this was one of the most enjoyable seasons I've ever coached, and that was because of the complexion of the team and the type of kids we had.
Bob Hertzel.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned more than once, shall we say, the fact that it's not right, perhaps, that people who don't know you should judge you the way this works out. Do you have a solution for an alternative means to pick teams to the tournament in your mind?
I think there has to be some changes made in the selection process. I think, you know, it's pretty obvious when you look at the members of the committee and the teams that get in, it's not an objective process like it needs to be. You know, as a conference, I think the Big 12 should probably be embarrassed that West Virginia didn't get in the tournament with a 14-10 regular season record. We're the only team in the last 10 years in either the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, or the Pac-12 that were 4 games over 500 and didn't get an at-large bid. I think the Big 12 needs to look at that and say, where did we go wrong here? So I think that's pretty embarrassing to be the league that stat is associated or pinned to. So we just need to try and get better. I don't know what the answer is, but but we're not the only team. You look at NC State sitting out there, and how they didn't get in is ahead of some people is hard to explain to some people. Is it an easy job? No, but is that one of those jobs that needs to be done objectively by people? I'd say yes, somehow, some way.
Joe, I see it. Go ahead.
Randy, obviously the disappointment of today is still fresh, but when you look ahead to next year and the lineup that you're going to have coming back and some of the recruits coming in, where's your level of optimism for what you have coming in next year?
Message number 3 to the team today was somehow in life you always need to find a way to turn a negative into a positive. And sometimes that's extremely hard to do. I went through it, as I told the team, when Whammer got hurt on the field here a little over a year ago. As a parent, that's as negative a situation as you can be in, but who would have thought at the time we could turn it into a positive? But Amanda and I and my family have since raised a lot of money to help other people who are in that same situation. So we turned an ultimate extreme negative into a positive. So it was a real negative today that we didn't get the respect we deserve. So how do we turn that into a positive? I pulled a poker chip out of my pocket today and said, this is how we're going to play next year. And I put that chip on my shoulder, and they've put us in a position now to play with a chip on our shoulder and to prove to people that we're better than everybody thinks we are. And if you get a group of guys that have a chip on their shoulder and are trying to prove something, then you can turn this into a positive and play with a level of enthusiasm and energy that you wouldn't have played with had this not happened. So we'll show people, but it's frustrating that, 1 year we finished 3rd in the regular season in the Big 12 and didn't get an at-large bid. And I think in a different season, our RPI at the end of the year was 45. We were the only team in the top 50 that year, I think, that didn't get an at-large bid. So it seems to continue to keep happening to the Mountaineers, so somehow, some way, we need to make a statement that this is a top 25 level program. We've been ranked in the top 25 in parts of each of the last 5 seasons, I believe. It just seems we don't get the respect we deserve.